Hey there. I've been going over my notes in my idea list and my videos, and I've noticed they all have one thing in common, which is I'm making the same video over and over and over. So I decided to switch it up a little bit, and instead of talking about what I have been playing, I want to talk about one of my all-time favorites. Now, I think that there's been a lot of discourse around RPGs these last couple of months for no reason at all. So, in the same spirit, I want to talk about my favorite RPG of all time, Skies of Arcadia. Now, I'm a little bit nervous making this video because it's like one of those times where you're showing your friend a video and you're like, oh, this is really funny, you should watch this. And you're sitting there and you're watching it with them, and deep down inside, you're praying they laugh. Because if they don't, then your world is going to crumble. So, this is my funny meme video that I'm showing to you, except it's my favorite RPG of all time. Before we get into it, I actually just want to talk about my experience with the game, because this game is near and dear to my heart, so I figured I'd share my history with the game with y'all. So, I first played this game when I was a kid, and it was actually the first RPG I'd ever played. And I didn't even hear about it through like a commercial or anything. So, there used to be this like official Dreamcast magazine where sometimes they'd have these demo discs inside, and there'd be like maybe 8 different games, and you could play a little bit to see if you're interested. So by happenstance, I played a demo disc with Skies of Arcadia on it, which I think just had the first dungeon plus the first boss fight. And even with that like small little tidbit, I was hooked. So I begged my dad to buy the game, which is like the first game I've ever asked him to buy for me, and I was instantly hooked. I do remember the game taking like a really long time to beat, because 1, it was my first RPG, so I didn't know what I was doing. 2, I was a kid, and 3, the game is just long. And I don't know, I mean, it's just been history ever since, right? I've played it a couple more times from when I was a kid until now, and I still think it holds up today. Like, hot take incoming, but I actually think it's one of the greatest RPGs ever made. It's just kind of unknown. So with that in mind, let's talk about Skies of Arcadia. Like I said before, Skies of Arcadia wasn't really that popular, so you probably don't know what it is. Skies of Arcadia is a turn-based JRPG released in the year of our Lord 2000 by Sega for the Sega Dreamcast. 2 years later, they released a version called Skies of Arcadia Legends for the GameCube, which is basically a slightly updated version of the game. It has some quality of life, and there's extra content, but it's not radically different from the original. In modern terms, I'd say it's basically like Persona 5 versus Persona 5 Royal. Legends is basically Royal, so if you ever pick it up, you should play Legends instead of the Dreamcast version. In Skies of Arcadia, you play as Vice, a blue rogue pirate. The blue rogues are basically the Robin Hoods of the setting. They steal from the rich, they give to the poor, and they help the needy, so they're basically the good pirates. And the game starts out as you are conducting a raid on the ship of an evil empire in Valua. And after you raid the ship, you find out that they captured this mysterious girl named Fina. Now, a bunch of cool stuff happens that I'm not going to go into because, it's spoilers, and I want you to play it for yourself. But you find out that Fina has to travel the world because she has a mission that needs to be accomplished. Vice's goal is to travel the world and see with his own eyes, and to assemble his own pirate crew, so you end up joining her along with your childhood friend Aika. And that's really all I want to say about the story, because I think this story is amazing. It takes you through so many twists and turns, and I think that it's just a really fun journey to be on. So me saying anything more, I feel like it's a little bit of a disservice. What I do want to focus on is the things that make this game unique and why I think it's one of the best RPGs ever made. So the first thing I want to talk about is the exploration aspect of this game. So to talk about the exploration in Skies of Arcadia, I first actually need to set up the context of the world that you live in. So you know that meme of the gnome elf child that's like born too late to explore the world, born too early to explore space, born just in time to explore dank memes. That's basically you, but you're just the first part. See, in Skies of Arcadia, Vice and the known world to him is really only about 40% of the world at large. you kind of live in this Marco Polo kind of era where the rest of the world you've only really heard like rumors about because there's been like one or two explorers that have gone to these places by complete accident, and tales of what they've done there and what those places are like are passed through word of mouth, almost becoming legends after a while. Unfortunately, access to these other parts of the world are blocked by natural barriers. So for example, in one part of the world you can't access it because the winds blowing from there are so strong that ship engines can't actually traverse from where you are to where they are. So Vice has been born in this like perfect time where technology is finally catching up to be able to cross these natural barriers. And I think that that's kind of the first part that makes exploration in this game so interesting, is that you are now on like the forefront of exploration. You're born at this perfect time and you come into these set of circumstances that allow you to explore a world that people basically mythologize because they don't exist to them, because they're just the great unknown. And that's something that I think that modern games, they don't really have. See, in modern games, the context is often that you, the player, don't know what's out there, and occasionally the player character also doesn't know what's out there. Like a good example is Fallout 3, where the player character is stuck in this vault, so they don't know what the outside world is like. I think the main difference comes down to the actual world itself being known to most of the people that you can easily access. There are points in a lot of games where you have to explore this unknown area, but those places are usually easily accessible, or that portion of the game is not a large part. In contrast, in Skies of Arcadia, exploring the unknown is like a majority of the game. And all the time, because technology is just catching up recently, you are on like the forefront of exploration, and no one can really do this except for you and maybe like a handful of people. This isn't to say that modern games are bad in this aspect. I'm just trying to emphasize that modern games don't have this perspective or this take on exploration that Skies of Arcadia does. There are a lot of other ways that Skies of Arcadia emphasizes exploration. Like, for example, I think the fact that the crew and all the other NPCs, they act in wonder at this new location or civilization or area that you've discovered. I think you getting to share into that, because it's also new to you, it just adds to the like excitement and wonder of exploration. Another good example is how small the ships are relative to the sizes of the land masses. It's a little bit weird because like your first person view doesn't really capture it well, but if you look at the ships that you'll meet across the sky, they're actually really tiny in comparison to like the bigger land masses where civilizations and cities reside. So this contrast in sizes really makes it feel like it's a big open game. I don't really want to dive too deep onto those. Instead, I actually want to focus on one particular mechanic, which is the Discoveries minigame. In the Discoveries minigame, you basically can go around the world and you can discover these landmarks that no one has ever found before. They're actually invisible until you discover them, so the only way you'll know that they're there is your compass will start like spinning really fast. And you don't necessarily just have to find them by looking at your compass spin really fast. So there's this Sailors Guild, and they vaguely know the existence of these landmarks. And what you can do is you can purchase hints from them, but they're not like normal hints where you would think like, okay, yeah, it's just like northwest of this place. It's more people giving first-hand accounts, and then the Sailors Guild kind of telling you a condensed version of people's recounting of where they last saw this thing. And this is, I guess, more of a smaller thing that emphasizes discovery. But I think it's really cool because no matter what you end up doing, you know, you're still exploring at the end of the day. If you're just wandering around aimlessly, just trying to see around the world, you will find these landmarks, and it's like a cool little bonus. You could be actively hunting for them without looking at the Sailors Guild, and it's also just a cool, you know, way to explore the world. And obviously, you know, if you get the hints from them, then you're still actively exploring an area, just with a little bit more guidance to discover the rumors of what people have found. Overall, there are just so many ways that exploration in this game is handled that I think makes this game truly unique and special. And I think that it's definitely one of the biggest reasons I can recommend this game to people. Another thing that I think makes this game unique is the combat system. The combat in Skies of Arcadia is actually pretty simple. A basic turn looks like this. You decide what actions your characters will do for that turn, and then the turn plays out in order of speed. Now, in combat, you can do pretty normal actions that you can do in most RPGs. Attack, block, magic, item. Where Skies of Arcadia is unique is there is this bar at the top called your SP gauge. And basically, super moves and magic consume SP. And this SP gauge is shared between all your party members. So a big part of Skies of Arcadia's combat is managing this SP bar. At this point, you're probably wondering why I'm bothering to explain any of this, because I said that I wanted to highlight something that was cool and unique, and to be frank, what I'm describing is kind of average turn-based combat. Like, yeah, the SP system adds another layer of complexity, but it's not anything crazy. Well, that's because I'm kind of lying to you. I actually want to talk about the ship combat, which is probably my favorite part about this game. Now, the ship combat roughly follows the same rules as the normal combat. You need to decide all of your character's actions in the turn, and you still use an SP bar, but that's about all that's the same between normal combat and ship combat. So the first thing you'll probably notice about ship combat is that there is a grid system with these colors at the top of each of the columns of this grid. Now, these colors represent the enemy intent. It's traffic light colors, so green means you're good to go, yellow means that there could be danger, and red means, oh my god, you need to get away. And I think that's already really cool, because I think being able to see enemy intent and plan around it is already a really cool system. Occasionally, there's also going to be these like C symbols inside, which is basically a critical, which means that if you attack here, you'll do more damage. There's also a lot of like nuance to the attacks you can do, because, surprise, you have to fire using the cannons in your ship, but only one character can fire a cannon at a time. So if my first character, Vice, uses the first cannon, my second character, Aika, can't use it at all, and this goes for every single cannon on the ship. There's also cool things, like there's different type of cannons. Like there's cannons that shoot continuously through other characters' turns. There's also torpedoes that get shot on a turn and they land later. So you can do really cool stuff, like you can attack while defending. And there's just like a myriad of things you can do with ship combat that I think makes it really, really cool. I think another really cool thing about ship combat is a lot of the times during a fight, you're going to be forced to make a decision that will either give you an advantage or a disadvantage. So for example, you might get a situation where it's like, oh, the enemy ship is trying to speed up to get behind you. What do? You can choose to like stay still and try and juke them, or you can speed up and, catch them unawares. And depending on your action, you'll get a bunch of green square with criticals, or you'll get a bunch of red squares because you messed up. And there's other things that I think are really cool that I'm not really going to get into because I think that they're cool things that you find out. And oftentimes are fight specific. But ship combat has just so much depth, and I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. It is a bit of a shame that ship combat isn't super common in the game, but it is definitely the highlight of combat for this game. And I think that no other game really does like ship-to-ship combat at all if it's not like a first person, oh, you're like literally fighting in real time. So I think it's really cool that Skies of Arcadia does this turn-based ship combat, and oh my gosh, there is something that I really want to say, but I don't want to, but there's like a super move your ships will get, and it is so cool when you fire it. Like, that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to ruin it, because like I just want something for you guys to look forward to, but super moves on ships, cool as hell. There's so many more things I could talk about when talking about Skies of Arcadia and what makes it great, but I think I've given enough information to make you want to play it on your own. And I mean, honestly, the storytelling, the characters, the world building, the music, all of it is so phenomenal that I feel like if I were to go in detail about every unique thing about any of these aspects and how good it is, it'll probably ruin your experience. I think Skies of Arcadia's main strength, if I were to say it overall, is that it gives you the feeling of being a pirate captain and all that entails. You get a crew, you get to sail the seas, you get to go on your own adventure. Like, this game is probably the most complete pirate captain experience that I've ever played. Not that many exist out there, but I think that it is a great and fulfilling experience if that's what you're looking for. That being said, this game is 23 years old. It has some flaws. There are smaller things like you can't go down ladders quickly, and the combat can be challenging if you don't know what you're doing, to probably the biggest thing, which is this game is very long. I believe this game takes me about 80 to 100 hours to complete, depending on how much I want to do. For reference, the last game that I played that was this long was Metaphor, the Atlas game, and that took me about 101 hours to get true end and do a lot of the endgame content. So I think that it is well worth the amount of time you will spend on this game, but just know this is a long game. Hopefully throughout the course of the video, one thing has been made clear, and that is I really love Skies of Arcadia. I think that if you played through the game, you would understand why I think it's one of the best RPGs ever made. Unfortunately right now, this game is stuck in cameo purgatory. I believe that it has a couple appearances from the main characters as cameos in Valkyria Chronicles, and in one of the Sonic Racing games it has a stage with its own track, which is cool. But I think that people got their hopes up because the IP was renewed in early 2025, but I think that's all it's going to be for now. Like, people have acknowledged over the years the game exists, and they're like, oh, we'd love to make a sequel, but I don't think it's happening. So, not to really be a downer, but I just want people to play this game because I think that you're kind of doing yourself a disservice if you don't. And hopefully, you know, one day it gets on Steam so people can play one of the greatest RPGs ever made. If you liked it, you know, let me know down below. If you've yet to play it but want to, cool, also let me know. And yeah, have a good one. Hi, end of video me here. The call to action, subscribe, whatever, do that. Yeah, I think that I'm glad that I put this out. I don't know, hopefully I do more stuff more regularly. I do have a lot of stuff I want to do that's different. I just need to settle down and do it. As well as, like, other things that improve on quality. Like, my apartment's tiny, has high walls, so the sound quality isn't great. I have to put like filters on, you know, my recording software. So I want to like try different techniques out to make the sound quality better and just, you know, edit, and I don't know, it's just trying to get more of my personality out there. Anyway, if you stayed this long, you know, thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Have a good one.